Yeah. It was a funny story with Brownstown. The name Angus Packard. Still up here in time. And they were this happened in 1954. And I happened to be in downtown at the time. And I actually saw the bear back in that truck. And the next day in the casket, the story of a lame man killed bear with a cane. Okay, so you picture the poor fellow, two big black bears, so okay.
Yeah.
But the backstory is the day before he went up and he dumped the mash outside. The bear was stone cold drunk.
Yeah.
So he pounded him with his snout and killed him.
Front bears.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. That sounds like a restaurant.
That's amazing, I guess.
Yeah. Sounds like that. That sounds like it.
Actually, next time you go there, you might ask some of these old names characters. That's about it. They've heard the stories from there.
I'll ask.
Yeah, wait a minute.
They may be said.
Great. That's very interesting. on YouTube. We got solid negative comments.
Well, welcome everyone. Season 12 of TecSocial. Can you believe it? So we're kicking off season 12. And we have both for the studios here. So I want to welcome Merrick and Lori. She's down in the audience. We're going to talk a little bit about what they do and why they chose to be in president.
So,
Yeah. So there you go.
how's everybody doing? Good. I'll do my best here. I'm going to probably trip over this cord sooner or later, so I'll do a bit of comment relief for everybody. As you can see, Coal Furnace Studios, that's our company and our name. We produce digital entertainment and provide military advisory to the entertainment industry. That's not exactly accurate. It's pretty accurate. We also do military advisory to the defense industry. We got on that as well. You know, when they say nothing is too good for the military effort, therefore they should get nothing. Well, guys like me don't believe that, so we'll try and help out. So, anyway, what that really means is we're building video games. And we're using an in-house inherent military advisory branch to make them realistic and authentic. It's pretty exciting when you think about it. Okay, so this is why we're in Cape Breton. I could read it off to you, or I could, let you guys read it. But basically, what it is the environment here really speaks to the outdoorsmen and in the veteran community within Coal Furnace. The idea that you can go out right outside your door pretty much and be in an austere environment, that speaks to most of us. Most of us like to go out to the woods for a while, relax, burn some trees, have a beer, maybe throw a can of beans on the fire and sleep in a tent just to make you feel like you're back in the military after you're retired. So that's kind of cool. Well, the other reason is that Nova Scotia offers a really good package for the game industry. If anybody has any questions about that, Lori would be the one to talk to. So at the end of the presentation, if you want to talk to her about that, she'd be more than happy to help you. And of course, all of this combined makes this a great move for us. Well, we're here. We put our money where our mouths are, and we showed up. That surprised the hell out of a lot of people, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that's stories for other times. So our origins. I'm Mark Miller. I'm the CEO and the Chief Military Advisor. So I wear more than one hat. We have approximately 30 staff. What I do is I run the board, but I also run all the military advisory inside Coal Furnace. We have a kind of a strange organizational structure in regards to our military advisors because some of them are actually developing the game. Some of them are working on the code. Some of them are working on the art, right? So that's kind of neat. They just tell me what they're doing, and I know that inherently they know what their building looks like, what it's supposed to look like, and that's really convenient. Like other companies, they'll do a first-person shooter game or whatever, and they'll hire a military advisory board or somebody who's famous in the industry. They'll pay $150,000 for a week's consultation. Guy gets his money off, he goes. But in the meantime, he's never actually talked to the boots on the ground, the people that are building the game. Well, our military advisors are helping to build the game. They're part of it. They're inherent. Without them, this game's not going to happen. We have Lori with us today. She's the president, the chief creative officer, and deemed security architect. I'm not going to talk about her expertise. If you want to talk to her about that after the presentation, by all means. I will say that she's extremely confident in the roles that she has, and Coal Furnace wouldn't be what it is without her today. So we're all very grateful that we have her in those roles. We were incorporated in 2015, so we've been around for a few years. And well, we're not going anywhere either, so that's cool. We're independent. Well, just out of curiosity here, what does it mean to you to be independent, an independent studio? Does anybody have any personal feelings on this term? This is a bone of contention to me, where people say indie.
Independent is meaning that you are not relying on another third party, a major factor, and you're more supporting yourself than having to rely on other people.
That's in a nutshell. We are 100% independent. We have no stakeholders except ourselves. We have no investors except ourselves. We don't report to anybody except ourselves. Now, when you think indie, like an indie studio, what does that mean to you? Anybody?
You're self-financing, you take the risk, you reap the rewards.
Think more social cultural,
That's like a bomb.
Edgier,
okay? Edgier,
you take more, I guess, creative risks. You try not to stick with mainstream kind of things. You're in the fringe.
so nobody here has gotten the impression that indie is kind of a bad thing these days?
No, it's actually not. Right. More of that, they're not restricted to their upper higher powers, what they want. They make what they want to do for their player base.
Right. So there is a social stigma attached to the term indie. It exists.
It used to be, like when I was in the music, it's
They're not
something
taken
that's
seriously, that's right.
mainstream, and
That's
it's
right.
outside.
That's
And
changing.
not necessarily a group that someone would show up to a club to see, but they're for a specific group of people.
Right. So you get, say for
Under
example.
finance generally too.
Under finance, right? Right, yeah, we all heard, that's a pain for everybody, I don't care how big a company you're under finance. When we call ourselves independent, we're independent 100% through and through. We do all those things, and we don't rely on anybody except ourselves. That's what independent means to us, and we're very proud of that. We don't subscribe to the indie versus independent debate. We are independent. Call it what you will, that's who we are. That's where I was trying to get to. But there is, and you're right, there used to be a negative connotation to the term indie. Like these fly-by-night companies that put out one mobile game and then they go into debt because they all want Porsches and stuff all with their Kickstarter fund.
But now we see it as cool because it's a standalone.
Right? But there was at one point a statement again. This is what we think of independent. Game industry. Well, we're part of it. Everybody heard the term champagne tastes on a beer budget? Okay, well, we're AAA studio on a independent budget. Right, we're putting out a AAA quality product. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it in a way that nobody else has done before. And people will debate that, but when they see the final product and once all the secrets are out, they'll see that we're not lying. And that's
And
gonna be fun.
that's when you see the indie ones, they come along and spend 100,000 and they make 100 million.
Yeah.
Right? You think it's low budget, so it's gonna be crap, and then you watch it, and it's
Exactly.
really not, it just has the better people that wanted to be in that project.
That's right. All right, so this one here, usually when I'm talking, this one generates the most interest. Why? I don't know. Actually, I do know, because some of the things that I've done are pretty cool. All right, a little bit about myself. 25 plus years in the Canadian Air Forces, paratrooper, 2 combat tours to Kandahar, 2006, 2008. Also former Yugoslavia back in the 90s. So when I say we're doing realism, I mean it. That's really what's coming up, all right? I used to instruct recruit platoons in CFLRS, which is the Canadian Forces Leadership and Recruit School in St. John's, so originally used. So I was forming and warping the minds of young soldiers for a long time. That was fun. I was, here's the next one after that, Gagetown, yeah. Gagetown was where we really got the ball rolling in the cold furnace. And we made a lot of decisions with the company there because I was coming to the close of my career. And in Gagetown, I was at the artillery school or the combat training center where I was working as standards and ammunition equipment, which is all specialized for advanced training and stuff like that. All the junior training goes elsewhere and all the advanced courses go there. We train sergeants and other stuff like that, officers. So for my military career, I've been around, I've been here and there, I've done some things. What that helps me with is being in a supervisory position for 25 years, I have a unique outlook on how to run things. And when I do, I'm basing it on 25 years previous experience. Now, that doesn't mean it's always over. I mean, I'm herding cats sometimes because I'm taking a complete different aspect of people. I'm not taking soldiers now. I'm taking retired veterans. I'm taking civilians. I'm taking people of all ages and all walks of life. And I'm trying to make them work together. But that experience is what makes it work. That gives me the basis on how to do that. So the game that we're building is inspired by real events and the stories of combat veterans. Some of them are mine, some of them are other people in the company. There's a lot of stories that need to be told that are never told. Some people write books, but they don't get the story across. How can you get the story across in written word or a movie? Well, the next best thing is make somebody play it. right? So that's what we're doing. So we're gonna give these real events, these stories of combat veterans, we're gonna give them to people like you to play through so that you can experience what they experienced. And it's gonna be guttural. It's gonna be very visceral. It's gonna be hard to do. If you're a real person, you're gonna have difficulty with it. That's the whole point. Because, Hollywood has glossed over the horrors of warfare and the horrors and atrocities. Speaking of which is where we came up with the game. Anybody seen the website? Right? The name of the title that we're releasing is Atrocity Field Hands. Okay. There's a long story behind the title. I'm sure you'll figure it out when you play the game. I'm really excited for people to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll turn the floor over to questions and answers. Up here, we have my email address and Lori's email address, plus some business cards on the table here. So feel free to take one. That'd be great. And yeah, by all means, ask away.
When does your game launch? Sorry, Rob.
Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, well, the first was on the game launch, the second was how you're planning on what you're distributing for.
You want to answer this one?
PS4, was the initial release, but it'll be available on all major platforms.
Okay, excellent.
Do you sell the game as such, or is it online and you pay per session?
No, we're moving with the future on this. It'll be digital download.
I'm sorry?
Digital download.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to put CDs on shelves.
No.
No, that is the way in the past. We're going to roll with how things are progressing.
Okay,
So it'll save us a lot of money too.
So you would buy a full game to download?
You'll buy the final product digital download.
Yes, but you won't be able to play it online.
No, you play it locally. Actually, I'll let Lori explain a little bit more about that. I'm not really going to get into those details.
Our first release is
No,
campaign.
Can you interrupt you for a second? What I was getting at was, I'm not really a gamer, but I'm very curious about it, okay? And I wouldn't mind paying a few bucks just to see what the thing looks like, okay? Then I might get bucks, okay, but I wouldn't buy the game as such because I label myself not as a gamer. Yeah, okay, sorry, continue.
So our first release is campaign, it's story-driven.
Yeah.
Experience, it's not a multiplayer online shooter.
Yeah.
So it's something you enjoy as an experience on your computer or your console. It's a story.
Yeah.
It's actually multiple stories that make up a main story.
Is the game such that you can play it again and again and again? Or is it
With different outcomes?
That's right.
different outcomes? Oh, yeah.
Choices, right? So we all have to make
Oh,
them.
I like to say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
yeah.
That's
I'm
what all I'm
not saying
saying.
it's even closer, but like if somebody plays, when you play Minecraft, so they're making a path and they're choosing things, may say things as they go along, and it's like
Right, so
something you
there's,
walk through for either a week or for months.
so like a role-playing element, right? So, yeah.
Think of like those old books used to get, like, make this decision, go to this page, make this decision, go to that.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or choose your own atrocity is the difference.
So I'm curious, if the storylines are based upon real experiences that have historic outcomes, can you change the outcome if it's the real story?
Some of them are not historic. There is some fiction-based story based in this, but the smaller stories are things that actually happened, and they were parts of bigger stories. The nature of warfare, how do I explain this? One incident happens, 3 months go by, something else happens, right? And those things, you can't really plan when they're gonna happen. So we take all the stories that we have in our event bank, so to speak, and then weave those into the overall fiction story.
Okay, gotcha.
But then the blood and dust, can you see yourself using this as a historical tool for students, older students?
Not so much for teaching history, not for this particular one, but this is also, there is potential that, a military or a police force could use this for decision-making processes. Perhaps, getting into law of armed conflict, continuing the force,
Scenario planning.
scenario play, shoot, no shoot, situations, that sort of thing. It would also be probably a very useful tool for, pre-deployment training for soldiers, so that they'll have some sort of concept of the ambiguity that goes on in those conflict zones. Because that's really important. That's something that most militaries are failing miserably at, including
You
our
only
own,
teach children that death is final, it would be a great thing.
right?
Yeah, that's the only problem in any game really, but no, historically, that's, yeah.
So, yeah, there are some possibilities with this one. We are looking into certain things. Yeah, for sure.
One thing is, you said it first released on PlayStation 4 and future released on PC and such, but do you ever think of putting your game not as a release yet, but as a pre-release kind of on Steam, as they have a big following for the Indian independent studios? They have a big,
No, we don't support early access.
and it's not early access, it's more like they put their saying this game is coming out, but this is the information out, this is the community, this is what the community says, hey, this is a great game. It's just not to get really release the game, it's to release the potential of the game in the future, just something that you would have. It's basically a community kind of thing where you have people coming to your game saying, really, when that game comes out, I want to get it.
You're
Because of-
referring to the social media marketing
Yes, social,
campaigns? Oh,
part of it.
yeah. That's already in place.
So I apologize, I didn't do my homework, you say you moved to Nova Scotia, from where, and who has the roots here?
I do. I'm originally from
Well,
Social.
noted.
What was that?
Okay, it was well that she picked up that somebody obviously has roots.
Yeah, well, I didn't lose the entire accent.
And where were you before?
Fredericton, prior to that, I was in St. Jean sur in Quebec.
The
And,
company, I mean, yeah,
oh, the company?
yeah,
Fredericton.
started it, okay.
We started it, well, in the basement of our house in Oromocville, is where it started.
Yeah, I was just there a week ago. But yeah, I have Connect roots, and it's just funny that you're talking to Page Town now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great training for absolutely.
Yeah, and we use something, we do use similar software, but it's not storage for training. So it's very outdated now and needs to be upgraded, but it's a useful tool. We've been using simulation software for years now, including, the situational shoot, no shoot trainers and stuff like that. So it would be good to get something a bit more contemporary, a bit more modern, a bit more updated, a bit more reliable.
So if you say that the graphics are realistic, calling it atrocity, is there a PG rating or something like that? So you have a certain target market there.
Yeah, we're aiming for certain ratings. Mature.
Mature will be
That's
the
the-
entry level
yeah.
play, because when we're discussing warfare, and what really happens, censorship really doesn't apply to warfare. So the entry level, I really don't want to know too much, is mature.
Right.
And we're also going to be releasing adult only version, which actually tells the real stories about what has happened.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see the market difference between the two releases.
ESRB wants to ensure that entertainment obviously is rated for your expectations, but when we're trying to tell real stories about things that happen, rating really becomes more censorship. It's very difficult to tell stories. So adult only will be the real version.
It'll be no whole part.
Yeah.
It'll be the full meal deal. And the mature version's gonna be bad enough. People are gonna have a hard enough time with the mature version. And if they don't, well, then there's a problem.
So we're really looking forward to, as a North American game developer, introducing adult-only games to our market. Adult-only games have been very popular, especially in Asia, but it's usually around sex-based type games. So there's a stigma there on what adult-only means. And in North America, we're a bit more conservative, so we don't really push the adult-only rating, but we will be to be able to tell our stories.
So I find it's kind of a shame that you have to actually be restricted to adult only to tell the truth. That's what really gets me, but that's what we have to work with, so that's what we're gonna do. Because that's how we see it.
So what does a typical team look like?